Hi, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love PF2 and shape-changing, and so I love Tanuki. The Tanuki are fun-loving, pudgy little roly-poly creatures that change into objects more than people. They're like, they have this like weird rivalry with Kitsune, and they're sort of like two sides of the shape-shifting coin. The Kitsune change mostly into a bunch of other people and foxes, and the Tanuki change into other people too, but it's mostly objects. And their freaking priest form, the false priest form, is fucking bullshit. It's great. It's 1 feat to let you use deception to recall knowledge about religion and give you a different physical shape that you can change into, a different person, that has Divine Lance and Haunting Hymn as Primal Innate cantrips. That's just freaking awesome. We're not talking about that today. I just like it. Alright, so I'm here to talk about the Tanuki's ability to change into different objects in, like, with a microscopic lens, because there are a lot of things that you can change into that people don't really think about, or people just don't give Tanuki enough credit for all the random shit they can change into. I'm going to go over Teakettle Form first, and then I'm going to go over Statue Form, so if you want to just hear the large things, skip to this time. So Teakettle Form, for those who need a refresher. Your shapeshifting is advanced enough to take the form of not just creatures, but objects as well. When you change shape, you can assume the form of a simple tool or object of one bulk or less, such as a tea kettle or umbrella. When transformed into an object, you can function as that object for allies to use. For instance, turning into a crowbar so you can help an ally pry open a crate. I know it specifies ally, but I see no reason why this wouldn't apply to everyone. Like, if you turn into a piece of wood that people can put across a door to bar it, why couldn't anybody just pick up that piece of wood and put it down? It makes sense to me. You can speak while in object form, but you can't attack, cast spells, or move except to crawl, usually by hopping or flopping across the ground in an undignified manner. Because they're Tanuki, that's what they have to do. So, when you're in any object form, you can speak and crawl. Crawl is just a little bit of motion. I also want to point out that in mythology, the Tanuki could, like, if they were a tea kettle, they could lose the top part of their tea kettle that kept the steam inside and still be fine and, like, roll around and become themselves later. So I know that that's not canon as far as the game rules go, but little pieces falling off of you don't damage you as long as they're meant to come off. Like, if you're a pencil and somebody writes with you, you're not damaged. Makes sense. So, Teakettle Form, it's important to understand what it does exactly. It is as your change shape ability that all Tanuki get. Which is interesting, because even if you have a versatile heritage, you still get the basic change shape ability of Tanuki. So it's one action, it has the Concentrate, Polymorph, Primal, and Tanuki traits. You can transform into a mundane raccoon dog using the statistics of Pest Form. This is a specific raccoon dog form that's the same age and body type as your true form and has roughly analogous physical traits such as hair color. Using change shape counts as creating a disguise for the impersonate use of deception. You lose any unarmed strikes you gain from a Tanuki heritage or ancestry feat in this form. You can remain in your raccoon dog form indefinitely, and you can shift back to your Tanuki form by using this action again. So this is considered a battle form, because it's like pest form. Battle forms mean that you lose your normal... You know what? Let's just click on Polymorph, and I'll read you that. These effects transform the target into a new form. So this is your change shape ability that is also the key ability for Teakettle Form and Statue Form. A target can't be under the effect of more than one polymorph effect at a time. If it comes under the effect of a second polymorph effect, the second polymorph effect attempts to counteract the first. Which is kind of interesting, because if you're under a polymorph effect that you don't want and you keep your ability to change shape, you can try to change shape to dispel the polymorph effect. It's kind of neat. If it succeeds, it takes effect, and if it fails, the spell has no effect on that target. Any strikes specifically gained by a polymorph effect are magical. So if, like, you're a clock, your, I don't know, hands hitting people are magical. Unless otherwise stated, polymorph spells don't allow the target to take on the appearance of a specific individual creature, but rather just a generic creature of a general type or ancestry. If you take on a battle form with the polymorph spell, which your change shape is considered, and the raccoon dog form is considered, The special statistics can be adjusted only by circumstance bonuses, status bonuses, and penalties. Unless otherwise noted, the battle form prevents you from casting spells, speaking, and using most manipulate actions that require hands. If there's doubt about whether you can use an action, the GM decides. Your gear is absorbed into you. The constant abilities of your gear still function, but you can't activate any items. If a polymorph effect causes you to increase in size, you must have space to expand into or the effect is disrupted. Now, I read this to mean that you can't activate any of the items that have melded into your body, not that you can't activate items. But I suppose it could be taken either way, so fine, you can't activate items. Teakettle Form specifically calls out that you can turn into a crowbar, a tea kettle, or an umbrella, and a tool or object. A tool in the system is considered a hoe, shovel, or sledgehammer as a long tool, and a hand drill, ice hook, or trowel as a short tool. Those are just the tools that are mentioned. You can turn into anything else that could be considered a tool. Or an object. So things like a piece of paper, a ruler, a backpack. It says it has to be a simple object. It doesn't really specify what simple is, so this is going to come down to some GM interpretation, but you can turn into things like a throw rug, an arrow, a javelin, a belt, a shovel, a fence post, a piece of or a paper airplane. There are some arguments online about what you can turn into and how. But I will say that an arrow is an object in this system. Any ammunition would be an object by itself. It's not a tool, but you can still turn into it. What happens when ammunition is used? It's destroyed. However, that's pretty much just in the system for ease of tracking. If it's used and strikes an object, it's destroyed. That wouldn't affect you specifically if you were in that form, even though you are temporarily that object. There isn't any specific ruling that I've seen that says if you are turned into an object that gets broken, you take the same damage. I would rule it that way, but you wouldn't automatically be killed if you are an arrow and you are fired from a bow. That does mean that you can be fired for hundreds of feet. So it's sort of cheap flying. I like the idea of sneaking into an enemy base or enemy camp, stealing the general's shoes, and then or one of the shoes, and then turning into it. And then you just go with the general everywhere they go that day, and you see and sense everything that is around that person. It's really easy to have reconnaissance with a Tanuki in the party, with just Teakettle Form. Now let's look at Statue Form. It's 5th level prerequisites Teakettle Form. An inconspicuous statue in front of a shop is the perfect form to wait for things to blow over. When you change shape, you can assume the form of a statue, shop sign, or other heavy object of up to large size. Using statue form counts as setting up a disguise for the impersonate use of deception, except that you can impersonate an object instead of a creature. It gives you a +4 status bonus to deception checks to prevent others from seeing through your disguise, and you add your level even if you're untrained. Your weight increases to match the object you're impersonating while in statue form, allowing you to use your spell DC or your class DC instead of the relevant DC to resist forced movement, usually fortitude, if they're higher. You can speak while in statue form, but you can't attack, cast spells, or move. I kind of love that you can be a shop sign that is screaming at people. But something interesting in the rules of the feat is that it doesn't specify how many feet or how much weight you can become. I did some research on Reddit and also in other places, and it seems as though Pathfinder 2 generally considers the upper height of large size to be around 16 feet tall. That's in Forest Trolls, Gugs, and another monster I don't remember. So, this seems to be a tradition left over from Pathfinder 1, which is in turn leftover tradition from 3.5. Looking at the 3.5 D&D size chart, the height of large at most is 16 feet. And the max weight is 2 tons, which also roughly matches trolls, gugs, and other giants like fire giants at the max height and weight of large. So you can turn into an object, and I know that I'm taking this out of context from 3.5, but Pathfinder 2 specifically, I think intentionally, doesn't have a chart like this. So I'm using this chart, because it's really workable, and it's pretty fucking close. So if you can turn into something that is up to 16 feet tall, or long, and up to 2 tons, that's a lot of shit. So what does that include? A lot of things, like an anvil. Because it's variable in size and height. There are a lot of different kinds of anvils. I wrote down an inflatable punching bag clown. I don't know why, because I grew up with one of those and it's fun. A wall of rubber. A wall of stone. A statue of any kind. A boulder rolling down a hill. Physics still maintains your momentum if you are running and fall. And if you're doing so and change form into a boulder, or if your friends push you down a hill as a boulder, you're a big ass fucking boulder. You weigh 2,000 pounds, 16 feet high boulder. Or, maybe smaller to accommodate for the weight. You know what else is about that weight or size? A grand piano, up to 1,200 pounds. Or a large carriage, up to 1,800 pounds. Yeah, I know, I'm stretching it a little bit, saying a carriage is a simple object. But it's not terribly complex. It's not a weapon. It's not like a machine gun. It's a box or a sled and 2 wheels. I want this video to be a resource where people can go and just hear ideas about what different things they can change into. Like, the debate, the argument that was on Reddit that I read, which I loved, is what if you're fired from a bow as an arrow and you change into an anvil in midair? Well, you have to have the actions for that. That's not hard to do. You can just ready an action. So you spend 2 actions to ready 1 action to change shape back into an anvil instead of an arrow. Or a Tanuki. But how does that affect the damage you do? Technically, in this system, weight, mass, volume doesn't affect any damage you would deal by falling. That's up to GM interpretation. Technically in the rules, if you want to go by it, it's only about the height you fall from. That's stupid. If you are falling from a height of 300 feet as an anvil, you're going to murder whatever the hell is below you. Yes, it only takes a DC 15 reflex save to get out of the way. That's in the rules too, which kind of sucks. But it's still a fun idea. They have to know that they're getting something dropped on them. How would they know? I would probably say, give them a perception check to know that there's, something falling on them from 300 feet above their heads at night. You know what else is an object? A cookie. Any kind of food. Drinking vessels. From Beauty and the Beast, the little chipped cup that gets drunk out of, you could giggle because their mustache tickles. You could be a pane of glass or a mirror. You could just take the shape of anything and take on its properties. Like you could reflect light. You could even position yourself in a certain position to angle light to shine in somebody's eyes or to get the attention of your friends. It's sort of like the T-1000 from Terminator 2, liquid metal. Anything that dude could turn into. So could just a note left for the enemies or something. Like if you have deception because you're a fucking Tanuki and you are trying to impersonate the handwriting of a bad guy and you can leave yourself as a message, just changing the message for different people to pick it up to organize no one to be on guard duty at a certain time or for them to attack each other. As fucked up and weird as that is, you could do that. Like just give them messages to go different places or to dress certain ways or to attack the people wearing the red hats. Cause. So if you have ideas of what you can change into that is horribly abusive of these rules or just really useful, please put them in the description. Thank you for joining me. If you are a patron, I appreciate your help every month. The kitties do too. And it also allows us to make cool, fun shit like this to give away. And if you want to get stuff like this or big ass 80mm D20s, it's like that one. I know it's bigger than you thought, huh? You can join Patreon, $5 or more. There's a link in the description. Or you can join Discord to just chat with us because it's fun. and talk about build ideas and options for how to use all sorts of different weird crap. If you want to see my coverage of the Tian Xia shit, here. If you want to see my live stream, here. Cool, thanks. I'll see you there.